Now it's different from match play and stroke play. In match play, you're allowed to go out on the competition course before the round and play. In stroke play, if you play on the competition course before the tournament starts, you're done. So don't even worry about coming to the tournament. So just, if you're playing match play, you are allowed to be out there. Stroke play, you must not practice on the competition course. Pretty self-explanatory.
If you even hit one ball off the tee, you're disqualified.
Yes. Yep.
That's on a day, correct?
On the day of the event.
On the day of the
Yes,
event.
on the day of the event, yeah. Yeah. All right, Rule 8, advice. Now this is kind of interesting. So if you ask for advice during a stipulated round from anyone other than your partner or caddy, it's 2 strokes. Or if you just voluntarily give advice, same penalty, 2 strokes. So don't try and be friends with people out there if you're playing a competition and say, oh, you should do this when you're swinging. Otherwise, that is a 2-stroke penalty or a match play loss of hole. Yes.
When you voluntarily give advice, you know, you're just being nice.
Yeah.
Is the penalty only applied to you?
Yes. If the other player didn't ask for it, it's just you.
Okay.
They can't really affect what you say, so it's on you, the penalty. Now, if they were to ask you, what do you think I should do on this hole? They would get the 2 strokes then, and if you replied, then you would as well get the 2 strokes.
Discussion on rules isn't considered advice.
No, that's correct. You're good. Yeah, so information on the rules or public information is not advice. So if you're saying, where's the flag, how long is this hole, where are the hazards on the course, that's not advice. Yeah?
Who's your partner? Like, you give advice except to your partner?
Yeah, like if you're playing kind of a different type of golf and it's threesomes or foursomes to where you're playing with someone, it's a partner is what they classified in the rules, then that's not considered advice. You're allowed to say whatever you want to. But it has to be stated that it is a partner based on the form of golf you're playing. So in standard match play and stroke play, you're not going to have a partner.
Because we have, assuming that the yardage device is approved by the USGA, giving, that's not advice, that's distance, right?
Yes, that's
It can be given by
public
opponents
information.
freely without any
Yeah.
problem, right?
Yep, as long as that's allowed by the competition, then you're fine. Yeah.
Why the differential? 2, 1 stroke, 2 stroke, why not just?
For different penalties, you're saying? I'm not sure why the USGA created the 1 stroke and 2 stroke, just saying that some things deserve 1 stroke versus other penalties deserving 2 strokes. I know it's also different in match play versus stroke play, where sometimes in match play they consider a loss of hole penalty enough versus stroke play they disqualify someone. So it's really just kind of what the USGA and PGA, they sit down together and they decide, well, this should be a 1 stroke, this is a 2 stroke. I'm not sure why they decided on certain things, but just kind of what they did. So, does anyone else have a question over here? All right. Kind of an interesting thing also is if, like let's say, here's my competitor's bag, and I look at it to see which club he's using for this hole, that's not advice, or a penalty for looking for advice. But let's say he threw a towel over his bag and I lifted the towel, then that'd be a penalty because you're taking an action to look for what he's doing. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you can kind of be sneaky about that one.
Don't touch
look
his
at a bag.
equipment? Is that kind of the line there? As long as you don't touch his equipment?
As long as you don't take any action in order to search for advice, then that's okay. Yeah.
So if you ask him what club he hit?
2 strokes. Yeah. And if he replies, then it's 2 strokes to him. But if he says, sorry, bud, then it's just you getting the 2 strokes.
And if he volunteers it?
Then it's on him. Yeah.
So would volunteering be as simple as lifting the club up and showing you the bottom of it?
If he did it intentionally, yes. Now, if he was just kind of standing there looking at something unintentionally, then that would not be advice. Yeah. All right. Rule 9, information is the strokes taken. This is most important in match play when you're playing against one other person. So if I'm playing against you in a match, I'm allowed to ask at any point, where do you stand on this hole? And you have to tell me. If you don't, and I didn't really detail this because it's not really that important, but if you tell me something wrong or if you don't tell me before I take another action and play, then that's a loss of hole penalty. So just, you know, if anybody asks in match play what you have, go ahead and tell them and be honest about it. All right, order of play. This is kind of interesting as far as match play and stroke play. It's different. In match play, if you play out of a turn, if a player plays when his opponent should have played, there is no penalty, but the opponent may immediately require the player to cancel his stroke and in correct order play a ball as nearly as possible from the spot which he last played. So again, if we're playing a match and I go ahead and play a turn, you as the opponent have the option to say, whoa, 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 you got to redo that. Now, let's say I just blow it out of bounds. You can be like, all right, go ahead and take that one. But if it's a great shot down the fairway, you can say, oh, I'm sorry, you got to redo that one. Now in stroke play, if you play out of a turn, there's no penalty and the ball's played as it lies. Now there's kind of some different situations where if you do it for an advantage for whatever reason, then that's a penalty. But if you're just doing it to speed up or don't even think about it, then there's no penalty. You guys good with that? All right. The tee is a device designed to raise the ball off the ground. It must not be longer than 4 inches, and it must not be designed or manufactured in such a way that it could indicate the line of play or influence the movement of the ball. So that, I've never seen it before, but it's a good tee. It's fine, since it meets those requirements, as well as that one. Now this one, it's kind of hard to see, but it's like a little half bowl there, and so that's designed to influence the movement of the ball. And that one, I'm not even sure what that is, but you're not allowed to use it since it's not just the 4 inches. Teeing ground. All right. The tee off, you need to tee off within 2 club lengths behind the front edges of the tee marker. So as it's kind of outlined here, that's your teeing ground. So you go off the front, as you can see, the front edges of the tee markers. And from there, you're allowed 2 club lengths behind it.
Are you able to stand if the tee
Anywhere.
boxes are there?
Yep.
And you got your ball all the way to the left of that point, can your body stand outside
Yes.
of that?
Yes,
to
you may.
swing
Yeah,
and
if
hit
there's
the ball?
if there's the tee marker right here,
That's right.
I'm allowed to stand outside the
So
teeing
you can
box
put
as
the
long
ball
as the
there.
ball is inside
It's
the teeing
inside,
box.
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so a little bit more about the teeing ground. In match play, there is no penalty if you tee off outside the teeing ground, but again, your opponent may require you to replay the stroke. So if you play from outside the teeing ground, and again, it's a bad shot, they're going to say, well, that's fine, you're going to play with that one. But like if playing out a turn, if it's a great shot, they're allowed to say, you got to go back and play within the teeing ground. Stroke play is different. If you play from outside the teeing ground like this, you incur a 2-stroke penalty, and you must then play from within the teeing ground. If you don't correct this penalty before you tee off from the next hole, you're disqualified. So in stroke play, just make sure, actually any form of play, just make sure he's teeing off within the teeing ground. Yeah. All right. Are you sure it's your ball? It's always a good idea to put an identification marker on your ball, because let's say we're both playing Titleist Pro V1s, and they both have, they're 4s. And they land right beside each other. If we have no idea which ball is which, even though we can see it and it's in a great lie, it's considered a lost ball if you can't identify it as your ball. So make sure, it's always just a good rule of thumb to go ahead and put a little marker on there, something that you know is your ball, like a green line or whatever. So that way if you find it, you can identify it as yours. To go along with identifying the ball, the player may, without penalty, lift a ball he believes to be his own for the purpose of identification and clean it to the extent necessary for identification. So you're allowed to clean as little, well, it's supposed to be as little of the mud or whatever it is off in order to identify it. And then you're allowed to replace it. But you have to make sure, I think it goes into it, yeah. This is kind of the procedure of what you must do to identify the ball if you can't tell if it's yours. So you have to announce your intention to your opponent. You can't just walk up and pick up a ball and say, well, I was trying to identify it. You have to announce to your opponent or competitor, and you have to mark the position of the ball. So that's important to do. If you were to just, if you were to say, well, I'm going to lift the ball to look at it, I'm not sure if it's mine, but you fail to mark it, it's a stroke penalty. So make sure whenever you're lifting the ball, just go ahead and mark it. And then you must give your opponent or marker fellow, you must give your opponent, marker, or fellow competitor an opportunity to observe the lifting and replacement. So just kind of the procedure.
On the ball itself, if you can visually see your marker, are you permitted to pick up the ball?
If you can tell that it's your ball, then no. Yeah, that would be a stroke penalty for ball arrest.
So therefore, even if it had mud on it, you could not pick it up and
That's
clean
correct,
it?
yeah. And there's certain instances where you're allowed to clean the ball, but just for identification, if you want a better lie or anything, you're not allowed to just clean the ball.